This podcast is not safe for work and will feature movie spoilers. It will feature scenes described of a graphic nature. It will contain language which most listeners may find offensive. Welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. Hi everyone and welcome to the podcast Under the Stairs. This is bonus episode 436 and we're back for another special review. This time looking at something that we generally wouldn't review on podcasts Under the Stairs. This is not a horror, sci-fi horror or even a thriller. This rather is a western, and it's a title that's about to be released in the UK and Ireland tomorrow, which is Friday the 13th, 2023. So why are we covering it? Why are we reviewing it? Well, one, we got a screener and I wanted to watch the movie, and part and parcel of getting screeners is you have to review the titles. But the second reason is this is, wait for it, the western debut of one Nicolas motherfucking Cage. That's right, Raging the Cage is making his way to the genre, which has evaded him for, well, almost his entire career until this year, where he has two westerns coming out, this being the first. The movie is The Old Way, and we're going to be giving you a lot more details after the trailer, coming right up.
I want you to understand how good a woman your mama was. She took Colton Briggs, the coldest killer that I've ever met, and she turned him into a family man.
My mama's dead now.
Coming in one way or another.
Tell me the names of the men who did this.
As long as that little girl is alive, there's no room for vengeance.
You're protecting a killer.
From another killer.
Can you teach me how to shoot?
Both of you put your hands behind your back.
Now, Briggs,
Especially that Rossi.
My father wants your gun.
I'll blow her brains all over this valley.
You ain't scared of nothing.
If Briggs decides he's coming, Colton Briggs is coming.
Sound like he's the one who's scared.
My whole life, I'd seen fear in the eyes of every man I ever met.
please don't come.
Let's do this the old way.
Is my father still a good man?
You boys woke up the devil.
And welcome back. So that was a trailer for The Old Way. I'm going to give you some deets from the press release submitted to me. Thanks very much to Fetch PR, who not only supplied the press statement, but also supplied the PR copy that I could review for this episode. So let's get into it. If you ever want to see A-list superstar Nic Cage of Face Off fame as a gunslinger in the Old West, now is the time to saddle up and watch The Old Way, the Con Air legend's first ever old school western. He looks right at home in a Stetson and duster jacket, strapping on a six-shooter in this outstanding new otter about revenge, morality and family loyalty. Cage is in fine steely-eyed form as Colton Briggs, an outlaw turned family man forced back into his sharpshooting ways and standing his ground despite being outnumbered and outgunned. The fine cast also includes cult character actor Clint Howard of Evil Speak, Abraham Berube of Open Range, Nick Cersei of The Shape of Water, Noah LaGrosse, son of James, Kerry Caputi of Heist, and the hugely talented Firestarter star Ryan Kiera Armstrong. Directed by Brett Donoghue of Acts of Violence fame, and beautifully filmed by Emmy and BAFTA-nominated cinematographer Cian Michael, The Old Way is unforgiven for the 21st century. A rip-roaring, guns-blazing must-watch for fans of Unstoppable Cage and films like True Grit and The Magnificent Seven. The Old Way marks the first Nic Cage western of 2023, with Butcher's Crossing also starring Fred Hechtner of The White Lotus, Xander Bartley of The Walking Dead, and Paul Ratchie of The Sound of Metal, and of course Rachel Keller of A Man Called Otto, which is set for release later in the year. The synopsis for the movie is: an old gunslinger and his daughter must face the consequences of his past when the son of a man he murdered years ago arrives to take his revenge. So there you have it. That's the setup. That's the synopsis. What did we make of the movie? Now, we're not going to spoil it here because the movie only comes out tomorrow. But there's a lot to enjoy from The Old Way. One of those reasons is, of course, Nic Cage. There is a novelty of seeing a man who has starred in pretty much every genre of cinema finally circling back to the one that I think a lot of people have been clamouring for a while. You never quite know what you're going to get with a Cage performance, and it's been said before, and I would agree, that Nicolas Cage is an incredible actor who needs a director that can focus his talents. If the director is taking his eye off the ball, Cage will run with it, and sometimes you end up with almost jaw-dropping bizarre performances that will either make the movie a cult or ultimately bring it down in viewers' eyes. In this one, he is surprisingly stoic, and I get the feeling that's because the movie is toying with the idea not of the typical Western anti-hero, but rather that Cage himself might be a psychopath, could potentially have serial killer-like tendencies, and as a result, you should never fully root for him. We're going to talk about that in a second. The movie's shot well. It's not particularly long. It's an hour and a half, which is short for a Western. And the supporting cast is great. It's always awesome to see Clint Howard. I've had a soft spot for that man for decades, and he turns in a very Clint Howard-esque performance here. The daughter of Cage in the movie, she's also great as well. She doesn't necessarily have to stretch too far because she appears to be afflicted with the same thing her father is, which does help you hide a lot of maybe we should be emoting here, but we're not going to. The biggest issue with watching The Old Way is how unremarkable the story actually is, though. It follows very tried and tested, very true kind of Western tempos of story, plot, twist, and action. In fact, there isn't actually a huge amount of action in here. If you break it down, there's maybe 4 gunfights at the most, and none of them run for particularly long. The effects are practical though, so it does get ticks from myself for that. But the story of revenge, you know, the old adage, pack 2 shovels if you're going out on a journey in revenge, is at play here, and as a result of that, nothing is remarkable. If anything, the movie itself goes through paces that you've seen done before, and you've seen done better. I mean, even in the press statement, The Unforgiven is, for all intents and purposes, maybe the most important Western movie post the heyday of the Western, like 60s, 70s Western movies. And a lot of movies have tried to chase that. Some get close, some do their own thing. This is not in the same sphere. Like, The Unforgiven is so far out of this movie's range that, you know, it wouldn't be able to see the back end of it. This is a entertaining enough, at times felt like cheaply made Western movie, and that's fine for what it is. But I would never try. I would maybe say aspires to be as great as, rather than is the, which is a tough pill to swallow. Some movies in modern times, whether it's something like a Bone Tomahawk, for example, can take that Wild West element, a Western style, and update it and modernise it and put twists in it that the audience themselves have never seen before. This one doesn't do that. However, like I said before, it is underpinned by a great Cage performance. It's not over the top because it doesn't need to be, and that's helpful. sometimes it's best to know how to rein that in to make it work. If he was so over the top, it wouldn't make any sense. The character is stoic. He is meticulous and is unstoppable. And that's all you need when it comes to the performance on the screen, which Nic Cage himself does very well. So yeah, overall, his performance is good. It's not exceptional. I wouldn't even rank it in the top 20 Nic Cage performances, but it requires him to be a bit more subdued in the character, and as a result of that, it's less ostentatious as you would usually see. Supporting cast is good. Dialogue is a bit wishy-washy, but for what we're watching, it's fine. Cinematography is good. Would have liked maybe a bit more action in it. It does feel like a lot of it is kind of drone shot. And drone shot footage is cool, but I do like the old helicopter shoot. Probably destroying the planet every time it happens, but sometimes it pays for its weight in gold. Some of the sets looked a bit cheap, if we're being honest, and some of the costume design not great either, but it's a quick movie. There is a satisfaction of getting a story concluding in a way that you kind of see being played out as it works its way through. The ending isn't anything that I would say half an hour into the movie you haven't already Babe Ruth called. So it's good for that. Cage is fun. Supporting actors are fun. Story overall is very predictable. When it comes to grades, I would give this a 2.5 out of 5 on the Podcast Under the Stairs scale. 2 being I didn't like it, 3 being I liked it, so 2.5 somewhere right in the middle. Let me give you details about where you can check out this movie, and then we'll close out this episode. The Old Way is released in the UK and Irish cinemas and on altitude.film and other digital platforms including Google, Apple Sky, Amazon, Rakuten and Virgin from January 13th, 2023. And there you have it. That's another review. Thanks very much to Fetch PR for submitting through the press release as well as a review copy. If you want to check it out, I've told you where to go. Maybe spend your Friday the 13th not with Jason Voorhees and rather with Nic Cage in a cowboy hat riding a horse. I mean, that in itself would make it one of the more remarkable Friday the 13ths you can do. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. We're getting close to that 100 mark and I would love to hit over that. But if you're checking this out in the podcast form, even video podcast, whichever device you're using, please hit subscribe on that so you never miss an episode from Podcast Under the Stairs. If you want more details on other shows that I do, visit the website, which is tputscast.com. That's tputscast.com. If you want to check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/groups/tputscast, and it's at tputscast on Instagram and Twitter. I look forward to speaking to you again on an upcoming review. So wherever you are, whatever the time zone is, and whatever you're up to in this big bad world of ours, please take care of yourselves out there. This is Duncan McLeish broadcasting live from Under the Stairs, and I am signing off.